Good morning, gentlemen. So, I wanted to make a video about the no games concept, specifically how I feel that there's a trick to this that's been slipping under the radar in terms of the conversations that I'm a part of. So, just to briefly explain, no games is the idea of someone who plays no games. If they're somebody who comes into the RPG hobby and wants to give their opinion while not playing, they're an idiot, and we don't want to listen to them. We want to ignore them, block them, bully them, ban them, whatever. Get them out of here. They don't have a clue. There are no games. But there's a trick, like I said. The trick is, in the spaces that I'm a part of, it's not about the players. It's a DM space. These are DM spaces where people want DM advice in order to run the best game that they can. So instead of no games being about playing games, no games should really refer to people who run no games. Someone who has no table, no players, and no bitches. So if somebody runs no games, I mean, their opinion is going to just be diluted nonsense. And we, again, don't care and don't want to hear it. So I feel like that's the most useful way to use the term no games if you're in a DM primary space. Now, it is true that ideally any given DM would also play the game, because someone who both DMs and plays can then help eliminate their own biases, and they'll be more able to detect if something is unbalanced. For example, if their own game is too easy or too hard, or too much treasure, too little treasure, whatever, something like that. When they see that from the player side, it then becomes much easier to realize, oh wait, in my own game, I'm doing that. I need to stop doing that. So it's actually pretty good to both run and play in order to run the best possible game, and then hopefully give good advice to other people when they ask for it. So, in terms of running no games, uh, again, knowing the rules is not enough. Playing games is not enough. What counts is actually running tables, and ideally running multiple tables, ideally over a long period of time. 10, 20 years even would be great. Perhaps even many different game systems with many different types of player groups in order to see all the possibilities, what works, what doesn't work. Uh, you know, pretty standard stuff for applying the scientific method and practice to what you're doing. And the funny thing is, even if we eliminated no games completely from the conversation, the conversation is actually really hard to have. Even so, you will often get DMs who are talking past each other because their play groups are just too different, or they maybe one's playing online and one's playing offline. These are big important factors that dramatically change potentially how the game is played. So you really don't need the conversation getting crapped up by someone who literally runs no games. um, Another funny part of this is you actually could easily have someone who maybe they ran games a long time ago, or they aren't currently running games. So maybe even just a year or two off would be enough to get someone into a position where they the advice they give is not well spoken, because it's not actually actively fresh in their minds. They might say the wrong thing. They might know the right thing, but they're incapable of saying the right thing because they're just not practiced enough. It's not fresh in their mind for them to communicate. So that's really the main thing, the main concept being expressed here, and this applies not even to just RPGs, but to all conversation about any subject, which is sharing your actual experiences, things that actually happened to you personally, rather than reiterating something you read somewhere else, or you heard once, or was advice given to you from someone that you don't even necessarily know or trust. What you really want to do is give advice directly from your own experiences, preferably with examples of the situation, like so that you can explain the context in which your advice applied. Otherwise, it's all theoretical mind nonsense. I think that pretty much covers it. There's a couple of other interesting topics that somebody could go into, which is the idea of the false OSR enthusiast, as well as the sort of terminally invested RPG player. Other types of people you want to avoid, but the one thing I like about the no games concept is that it's very much definable. There's no, you're not really judging someone based on some personal criteria. You're judging them based on a very observable fact, which is, do you run any games? Do you play any games? And if so, okay, we can begin to have a conversation. So it's a pretty great term, but like I said, at least in a DM facing space, the meaning of no games should be focused on if they run games. Do not take advice from someone who doesn't run games.